But let's not forget that Senator Warren works on the sub-banking committee, which means that she is representing the big institutions, including the central banks. So we're talking about Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo. We know for a fact that they've been involved in very nefarious acts and also trying to mislead people from these investments and try to keep people in the dollar. We have seen Bitcoin and many other technologies probably be used for nefarious acts like this, but to generalize crypto in general and say that it's linked to terrorism is in fact a baseless claim. It's wrong and it's not accurate. So this is misinformation. And I find it to be very comical, actually, funny, because as we know, it's really the dollar which has been used as an instrument to impoverish an entire class of people. It's been used as an instrument to finance terrorism, finance wars, drugs, human trafficking. So this is ridiculous. What many people don't understand is that after Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, that was really the end of having stability in the financial system. Also, I'd like to add, Kennedy was assassinated for trying to put the dollar back on a silver standard as well. But after they replaced the dollar with gold, they substituted it with bonds. So this would mean that institutions would hold bonds based on the confidence that they had in the currency. So if we look around today and you see what's happening with the dollar, still being the world reserve currency, we inflict inflation, debt, and all over the world by having that reserve status. And the world, again, is getting tired of this. Now, at this bond auction, nobody bought the bonds. Japan, even our alliances with France, they refused to buy those bonds. Now you also see in the narrative that they are dumping bonds all over the world. So there is a current exodus outside of the dollar. It makes more sense now why Senator Warren would put such a ban out there on crypto or try to get this going and to get support for it. It's to keep more people in the dollar. And they can actually do this by forcing people to buy bonds with their 401ks, with their Social Security. They can do this if they really wanted to. And I think it's going to get to that point soon. Now, nobody bought these bonds. So this is where it gets even more interesting. 1 week after that auction where no one bought the bonds, Bitcoin starts to move up. What's interesting about this is that many people are not aware that stable coins like Tether, like USDC, what Tether specifically is actually a product of Bitcoin. And what's interesting is when no one bought those bonds, a week later, we start to see Bitcoin move up. Again, Tether being a product of Bitcoin, and you can look this up, it's public. United States USDT Tether is the largest ticking time bomb in modern financial history. You have a 27 trillion Wall Street bill that's kind of lingering around these bonds. So what I'm trying to say is that when nobody wants the US bonds, the US has no choice but to buy up their own debt, to buy up their own bonds. And that's what's been going on. Again, Tether being a product of Bitcoin, simply playing the role of a bad bank. People need to look this up. What is a bad bank? But they're playing the role of a bad bank, and they are one of the largest buyers of US bonds right now. More than Japan, more than Mexico, more than France even. So Tether is buying up all these bonds. And I find that also to be interesting because they've managed to avoid 8 financial audits by the IRS, and they still claim that, hey, well, USDT is backed by a dollar, but the dollar is not backed by anything. Interestingly enough, too, Tether owns 15% of all the Bitcoin out there. So either Tether is holding Bitcoin from crashing or it's being used to prop it up. At the end of the day, this comes back to the dollar. What's happening? The dollar is losing its status. There's a massive exodus out the dollar. And yes, to answer your question, this all ties back to what this bill is all about. It's about keeping people in the dollar and at the same time misleading people from investing into things that are nefarious, like crypto, when we all know, in fact, that the backbone of this new financial system is going to be blockchain technology, digital. So I find that to be very interesting. Bitcoin and Ethereum, there's so much I can say about these technologies, okay? But they are going to dominate the headlines. They're always dominating the headlines. And there's a reason for this. It's because the real game changers, it really lies in Ripple's technology, RippleNet, right? It establishes, again, that bridge between the traditional markets, which is a few hundred trillion in value, and the new economy, which is slowly being tokenized. And all this evidence is out there. So for people who are investing in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and I'd like to make another statement about Ethereum. There's so many technologies that can easily remove all these unnecessary and ridiculous gas fees. And I know you guys in the crypto community know this. But what are the regulators doing? They're strategically delaying all this innovation. Why? It goes back to the same question. They're trying to screw an entire class of people. And what they want to do, and by the way, if they get a Bitcoin ETF, that's not going to be good. An ETF invites corruption. I mean, look at traditional ETFs today, all rigged. So why would you want an ETF for Bitcoin? Okay, well, it makes sense. If you're going to do a 180 on Bitcoin, like Larry Fink did from BlackRock, one said it was for laundering money, one said it was accused of doing this. Bill Gates said the same thing, fool's gold. We look at these people and we're like, oh, they're liars. They're very deceptional, these people. Yeah, sure, but sometimes they're going to let some truth out to fool you. And you think that they're lying, telling you not to get in, when really they want you to get in. Now, if they get a Bitcoin ETF, again, inviting corruption and manipulation, this is very interesting because the Bitcoin network solely relies on the internet. What is the biggest narrative now? Cyber attacks? That's very interesting. If they can isolate the entire population in a Bitcoin ETF, and there's this fear of missing out, this FOMO, you could get everybody's money into an ETF, consolidate, isolate people in there, and then knock out the internet. They really could do something like that. Again, the SEC is, and just to clarify what the SEC's role is, the SEC is just an enforcer for the banking cartel. If a cyber attack happened, it also could be the perfect way to roll out a new system. And what concerns me is the fact that this regulatory body is not enforcing the right and proper regulation. There's not enough discussion about, this is what Dr. Pippa once said from the World Summit. She said that we need a digital constitution of human rights. And I find that to be absolutely true. If we're going digital, and we know this, and there's a tokenized economy coming, we need some sort of constitution so that our information, our data, and us are not exploited. Because what we do is we risk everything if we go into this new system without the right and clear regulations, the fundamental rights of human beings. You don't want to treat us like tradable commodities, and that's what's happening here. Prisons are adopting blockchain technology and using blockchain to tokenize prisoners. That's just the first step. It's a very slippery slope. So the fact that they're slowing down the strategic delay of regulation, at the same time the strategic engineering of the collapse of currencies worldwide, it's not a good sign that these two are coming at the same time. You see what I'm saying? It's no secret that propaganda and divisiveness has certainly played a role in our economy. And with all this ongoing tensions around the world, they're trying to put the dollar's stability at risk. And this is going to be the catalyst for a financial revolution. So that's really what it comes back down to at the end of the day. What we were supposed to be talking about in the beginning is the fact that we stand on this precipice of a financial transformation that's been anticipated for years, right? But yeah, the institutions globally, and I think this is a coordinated network now as I continue to see more clearly, that they're coordinating this globally to destroy the currency of the United States dollar, because this is the hegemony. It has to end first. And what they're trying to do is find a solution to some sort of, this is what we talk about a lot, cross-border payment solution that's going to transcend the limitations of this current dollar-centric system. So that's really what it comes down to. But yes, propaganda, divisiveness, that's how you destroy a country. You do it from within, and they have succeeded. I really believe they have. If anything, too, I put this theory out there with Simon Hunt, and I told him off camera that I believe Saudi Arabia is really behind the BRICS narrative. I know we all look at Russia, like Russia's behind it. I think Saudi Arabia is. I really do. I really think Saudi Arabia is there because they have a very strategic geopolitical, like where they are, right? It's very strategic. It also is one of the largest energy exporters, and Qatar as well, of LNG. LNG is the future too. Who guards Qatar? Saudi Arabia. So there's a lot of interesting things happening, guys. And, to the audience, I really want people to understand that I used to talk only about XRP and the technologies that are taking us there. But once you really kind of sink your teeth into all of that, you start to understand that there's a lot of other things that contribute into that discussion. So to answer some of those questions about like, when's XRP going to start rolling out? When is this new system going live? You have to look at what all the institutions are doing. You have to look at the geopolitical landscape. Right now, you see central banks all over the world and institutions, and even smart money, they're buying up all the gold. And I really think being in precious metals with all this uncertainty, this fabrication of the economy and this risk, there's no better place to be right now besides precious metals and some blockchain protocol solutions.